just discuss about yet another interesting topic, which is diet and COVID-19. Diet and COVID-19, I'm sure there's no other better period in the history of this world where diet is so important to us. So today we are just going to discuss about it. So even before we jump into our discussion, I would like to know how many of you actually applied what we discussed yesterday. It's my belief that most of you have started including incorporating physical activity into your daily routine. It's not just the exercise what you do in a specified period, but it's my belief that most of you have incorporated physical activity, being active all throughout the day. So I just want you to type me in the chat box if you have really incorporated this into your daily routine. I'm just waiting to see your comments over here. In the chat box, just type me if you have already started doing it. Awesome. Great, great. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Okay, I'm so happy. I'm so excited to see this actually. Most of you have started following it, but the problem here is, it's so easy to follow it, but it's not so easy to continue with it. Okay, and we just get carried away with everything that's happening around us, and we miss out on this important thing. In fact, one important thing that I mentioned about being physically active is that how protective it is against COVID-19. I'm sure most of you who were there for the past 2 days were there to understand how important physical activity when it comes to lowering your risk of COVID-19. So today we are just going to discuss one more important thing, which is diet and COVID-19. So we now know physical activity is very important when it comes to COVID-19. You see, I'm not sharing these things just for the sake of sharing something, but I strongly believe that we are not left defenseless when it comes to keeping ourselves protected against this pandemic. God has not left us defenseless. We all pray to God that we have to be protected against this disease. I'm sure most of us have been infected. I thank God that you all are safe, but I just want you to realize that these lifestyle factors that is given to us, the health laws that are given to us, are way more important than anything in this world which the world is offering us, be it the vaccine, be it the personal protective measures that we are following. Above all of these things, the health laws that is given to us is way more important to stay protected. So one among those things is what we are going to discuss today. Let me share my screen. So in fact, we do have a lot of things to discuss. So I hope and trust that I'll be able to complete it within the given time to me. So diet and COVID-19, what you need to know. All right, so let me start my discussion today with this important statistics. Now, there's a lot of similar statistics that I come across worldwide, but this is one important statistics that I would like to share. This statistics was released by ISS, Italy National Health Institute, which was published in March 2020. Okay, it's not a recent one though, but just 1 year old. This is a statistic that was a study, in fact, which was released a year back. And what the study said is that 99% of the deaths, COVID deaths that happen in Italy are people who suffered from one or other disease. Okay, one or other disease. So in other words, we call these diseases the comorbidities. And interestingly, only 0.8% of the death happen in people who are not suffering from any other disease. Okay, now What are those diseases? What are those diseases that they were suffering from? Even before that, there are a few other information that I would like to share from this. 25.1% of the deaths happen in people who had one or other illness, and 48.5 deaths happen in people who suffer from three or more illnesses, and 25.6 deaths 25.6% of deaths happen in two or people who suffer from two or other illnesses. And then what are those diseases that they were suffering from? So 31.3% of the deaths happen, among these people, heart disease, people who suffered from heart disease was like 31.3%, and blood pressure 37.5%, and diabetes 31.3%. To me, these diseases are preventable lifestyle diseases. These are otherwise called as lifestyle diseases. Okay, these are the diseases that these people were suffering from. And I also came across similar data worldwide. It's not only in Italy, it's the same thing that happened in the US, in India, and everywhere. Every single place had pretty much the same experience, where people who died of COVID-19 were suffering from one or other disease. And in fact, last year when COVID-19 was like all around the world, and in my hospital, we had a lot of patients. Usually these patients are referred to physiotherapists when they suffer from respiratory problems. We are the ones to deal with their respiratory issues, help them improve their respiratory health. And it so happened that when COVID came to UAE, and these patients were not introduced, not referred to us in the hospital. But then a couple of months back, when COVID patients were referred to us, pretty much all the patients who were admitted in the hospital were referred to us, and we were almost spending our time in the isolation ward. So we were wearing the PPE, the personal protective equipments, and we were just treating these patients. I was curious to know if these patients also had pre-existing lifestyle diseases like what we just came across. So to my surprise, pretty much 80% of these people were suffering from obesity. In fact, that's not mentioned over here in this study that I shared with you. And obesity is one of the pre-existing lifestyle problems that most of us suffer from. And so 80% of these people were suffering from obesity, and some of them were suffering from diabetes. I would like to tell you that I did not come across a single patient who did not suffer from any other pre-existing problem who was infected with COVID-19. So this is something interesting. And so we'll be having our discussion around this important thing today. So there's another important study that I would like to share with you, which is called as the Global Burden of Disease Study. This study was published years back. It's not a recent one, but the trend remains the same even now. So what the study said is that 95% of the world is sick. And this study was published in the Lancet Journal, one of the famous journals in the world. And so this study says 95% of the world is sick. So what this means is we have chosen to be sick. Sickness did not happen on its own, but we have chosen to be sick. So what this study further says is that with just 1 in 20 being healthy, that's like 4.3% of the world's population is only healthy. So if COVID-19, if you suffer from COVID-19 and you recovered from it, we have to be really thankful to God, because we are actually being sick, but yet God has been so graceful to us that he protected us and helped us come out of this problem. So then the study goes on to say a third of those had more than 5 chronic illnesses. Okay, so that's exactly what we learned from the Italy study. And that study also said like people were either suffering from one illness or 2 or more illness or 3 or more illnesses, right? So this study again goes on to say a third of those had more than 5 chronic illnesses. And This further says around 50,000 people, this is really shocking, okay? Around 50,000 people die of preventable, I would like to underline that word, preventable heart disease every single day. So all around the world, 50,000 people die of preventable heart disease every single day. If this would be the case with COVID-19, we are really going to be shocked, okay? So what this means is like people are dying of preventable diseases every single day, but we have given more attention to COVID-19, and there's a link between these pre-existing lifestyle diseases that people suffer from and people die from, and which is one of the reasons why we suffer from COVID-19. We'll be dealing with this in detail as we just move ahead. Okay, so now there are two classification of diseases. One is the infectious diseases. So COVID-19, as we all know, is an infectious disease. Then we have Ebola, and we have other viral infections and flu-like symptoms, and then influenza and hepatitis A, B, HIV, AIDS. These are all infectious diseases, which are all, in other words, contagious diseases, which can spread from one person to the other person. And then we have the lifestyle diseases, like lifestyle diseases, which are linked to the kind of lifestyle that you lead. So if you lead a poor lifestyle, then you may suffer from these diseases. Most of the cardiovascular diseases, sometimes people are born with heart problems, which are exceptional from this. So otherwise, like 90% of the cardiovascular diseases, the heart attacks and stroke, are a result of poor lifestyle people lead. And then cancer, most of the cancer people suffer from are again linked to the lifestyle that they lead. And then we have Alzheimer's, a brain-related problem. And then we have diabetes. We have type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. And majority of the diabetes that we know are type 2 diabetes. And then type 1 diabetes, again, is an autoimmune disorder where your immune system attacks your own system and you end up with type 1 diabetes, and which is also, again, a lifestyle factor, actually speaking. And then we have high cholesterol and hypertension. And then we have a whole set of autoimmune disorder. Autoimmune disorder is a general name that is given to a series of a wide range of problems, like you may have rheumatoid arthritis, you may have ulcerative colitis, which attacks your digestive system, you may have psoriasis, vitiligo, and there are a huge list of autoimmune disorders that we know of, which is again a lifestyle disease. Why am I sharing this with you? There is a strong connection between infectious diseases and lifestyle diseases. In fact, in the study that we just came across, Italy study, which says people were suffering from lifestyle diseases even before they were suffering from COVID-19. This is very, very important, my dear friends. I just want you to understand people do not pay more attention to this important information, but I just want Bahrain Church to understand this and apply it to your daily practice, so you may stay protected, your family can stay protected, your friends can stay protected as you share this. Now, our entire discussion from here would be based on this particular thing. Genesis 1:29, where God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant that is upon all the earth, and every tree that has got seed-bearing fruit, they shall be yours for food. There's a specific reason as to why we receive this original diet. Of course, and the diet changed even in the Bible. As we just go through the Bible, we see the change of diet. But this was the original diet which was given to our first parents, right? So there's something called the pH scale. And the pH scale is a scale that is used to measure the acidity, acid or alkalinity of a fluid or a substance. So this scale actually has got a range of 0 to 14. Okay, so 0 to 14. So 7 is neutral, and anything below 7 is acidic, and anything above 7 is alkaline. Okay, So now the human blood has got a pH of 7.35 to 7.45. Within that narrow range of blood's pH is supposed to be maintained, which is the normal pH of our blood. Of course, your saliva, your urine, and your acids in your stomach all do have different pH. But I want you to focus on this important thing, that your blood has got a pH which is 7.35 to 7.45, which is slightly alkaline in the pH scale. And so what I want you to understand is your blood's pH cannot fall beyond 7.35 and go above 7.45. High alkalinity is again dangerous, and acidity is also really dangerous. Okay, both can result in serious problem of your health. You may end up with coma or death. Okay, so now we come across a lot of messages like alkaline rich food, take this drink, and this is going to improve your pH, and your blood's pH would raise above 8, 9. So drink this water, this and that we hear. But I want you to understand this important thing: your blood's pH, no matter what you do, to maintain what is called as a homeostasis, or the balance of your body would maintain this pH. More than your heart rate, more than your blood pressure, more than anything, this important range, this important thing called the pH is very, very important for you to be in optimal health. If this falls, you may end up in the hospital emergency department. Okay, so it is impossible to raise your pH beyond 7.45 or lower your pH. So always your body maintains this pH is something I want you to understand, no matter what you drink, no matter what you eat. But there's something important that I want you to understand as we just move ahead. So what is the true definition of health? This is my own definition. Okay, this is my own definition as I've studied and researched. Now, this is the most important definition I want you to understand. Health is a state of good reserve of antioxidants. I'm sure we all have heard about this term called antioxidants. And this is the definition that I would like to share with you. Health is a state of good reserve of antioxidants. Disease is a state of profound oxidative stress. I'm just going to explain to you in a moment what exactly is this antioxidant and what in the world is oxidative stress. So remember, this is the definition of health. So you may be thinking, and then what about the stress and all of these things? All of these things are linked to the stress, the diabetes, and all of the problems that we know of in the world is all linked to this definition, which is all packed right inside this definition. Okay, so health is a state of good reserve of antioxidants. Disease is a state of profound oxidative stress. So we have oxidative stress on one hand, and then we have antioxidants on the other hand. Your health is between both of these things. It's a balance between both of these things. So oxidants are the ones which cause oxidative stress, which is something that harms your health. And then antioxidants are the ones which protect your health against these oxidative stress. Simple as that. Okay. So as a matter of fact, I would say that your health is slightly a tilt towards the antioxidant side. So you have more of antioxidant and less of the oxidative stress or the oxidants coming into your system. Okay, now what are these oxidative stress and oxidants? What in the world is this? So imagine you have an apple, you cut the apple and keep it. In about 10 minutes time, the apple turns brown, and which is actually called as the oxidation that's happening in the apple. The apple is slowly losing all of its essential things in it, and then it turns brown, and which is what we call as oxidation. So in a way, oxygen by itself is an oxidant. I'm not going to get so much into these details, so I will not be confusing you. So there are so many oxidants out there in the environment which can harm our health. So there's another name for these oxidants which are called as free radicals. Just remember, oxidants or free radicals are something that's there to damage your health. So these are oxidants. And what these oxidants and free radicals do is induce oxidative stress in your body. Okay. So a profound increase in an oxidative stress of your body causes your blood's pH to fall towards the acidic side. But your body won't let your blood to fall towards the acidic side. It struggles all the time to maintain that normal pH. So your blood is supposed to be in a certain viscosity, but then the mounting oxidative stress causes an increased viscosity and the blood sludges, and then there's a tendency for the blood to turn to be acidic. But you don't want your blood to become acidic. Your body constantly tries to maintain the normal pH. And then as a result of this, as the blood sludging, what you end up having is something called as oxidative damage. Oxidative damage is nothing other than a cell dying gradually. So when a cell begins to die, this is what we call as degeneration. Okay, I'm sure you're able to follow all of these things. That's why I've taken some effort to put up this slide so you can easily understand this. So oxidants are something that's damaging our health. So we have so many oxidants in our environment. I'm going to show you what are the oxidants that we have come across in our daily life. And these oxidants, what they do is increase or induce the oxidative stress in our body, which causes a tendency for the blood to become acidic, which is what we call as blood sludging, which means the viscosity of the blood increases. You see, when I say the viscosity of the blood increases, in the case of heart problem, or you have high cholesterol and heart disease, your doctor may just advise blood thinners, right? So that is to thin your blood and just remove that blood sludging where your blood can easily move through the bloodstream. Okay. So then what this causes is oxidative damage. What this means is cell damage. Your cells begin to die. So this is where disease takes its origin, be it diabetes, heart disease, any disease that we saw. All of these diseases, behind the scene, what's happening is this sequence of event. Okay, degeneration, disease, and death results from a profound increase in oxidative stress of your body. And then we have antioxidants. Now, what antioxidants do is they are there to protect us. Antioxidants scavenge these oxidants that are in your body. Oxidants try to damage, antioxidants try to scavenge them and protect your cells and your body against these oxidants. So what these oxidants do is to improve the pH of your blood. That does not mean it's going to improve above 7.45. So your body can easily maintain the pH between that proper range. This is what it means. So you see, when I say blood thinner that your doctor prescribes, you see, we have a natural element that can actually thin your blood, and you can have your blood flowing through the bloodstream in a way it is supposed to be, right? And then what antioxidants do is they protect your cells against oxidative damage, which is degeneration, disease, and death. So if you really need looking for a better health, optimal health, longevity, then there should be a surplus flow of antioxidants into your system. Every single time you find an opportunity to just get some antioxidants into your system, your goal should be that. Let me tell you this, if you can have a good reserve of antioxidants in your body, you can stay protected pretty much against any disease in this world. This is exactly what God planned for us through that original diet, what He gave to us. We'll be seeing that in detail. I would like to share one more interesting study with you. And this is a study that was conducted on COVID patients itself to see if there is any deficiency in the antioxidant that these patients have. So this study was conducted in Jigawa, northwestern Nigeria. It's a very small study, but still it has got some interesting information that we all have to understand. So what they did in this study is they took like 50 COVID patients, and then they had 21 healthy patients. So these 21 healthy patients were used as controls, or they were used as benchmark for the study. So which means these patients did not have a COVID infection, and these patients were having a good level of antioxidants in their body. So they were protected against COVID-19, and they absolutely had no problem. But then in the case of the COVID patients, what they found was they had a deficiency of some of the key antioxidants. Antioxidants are none other than a lot of these vitamins that we know of. So they had a profound deficiency of vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. And they also had deficiency of antioxidant enzymes called glutathione and some of the other enzymes as well. And then they had deficiency of antioxidant elements, manganese, zinc, selenium, copper, and chromium. And then there was another one that they looked for, which is oxidative stress markers. Oxidative stress markers, meaning how much oxidative stress do they have? You see, there are some oxidants that you can find in your body if we can just put our body through a test. And then what they found in COVID patients is that they had these oxidative stress markers, which are higher in COVID-19 patients than the controls. So oxidative stress markers like nitric oxide and some of the other stress markers were found to be high in COVID-19 patients. Okay, so antioxidants protect you against COVID-19 or any other lifestyle diseases that we know of. So what oxidative stress does to your body? Here's a normal cell that you see, and as your cell is constantly exposed to oxidative stress, then these free radicals or the oxidants continually attack your cells, and slowly degeneration takes place, and the cells slowly and eventually die. Okay, here are the oxidants that we know of. If you have your phone, try to click a picture of this particular thing, and you will understand what are some of the oxidants that we are exposed to every single day. So some of these studies says that we are bombarded with 10,000 different oxidants every single day. 10,000 different environmental oxidants. It could be just the passive smoke that we are getting, and the kind of food we have, which has got high amount of trans fat and Wi-Fi radiations and EMF, electromagnetic field. Even now, as we are watching this in computer or phone, we are so close to it. You see, some of them are like not in our control, and we are anyways exposed to these oxidants. But there are a lot of these oxidants which are actually in our control, modifiable factors. Okay, something like sleep and cell phone radiation. In fact, you can just avoid a lot of these screen time if you just plan it out. And then what about keeping your rooms ventilated? And depression, supplements, some of these supplements in fact cause oxidative stress. And then we have the sugary drinks which we constantly just keep drinking, junk food, and cosmetics, and long-term medications, and there are processed food, hydrogenated oil, antibiotics, and whatnot. There are, and sedentary lifestyle. So we have a huge list of oxidants that we are bombarded with every single day, and you have to list down what are these factors which I can really avoid, and what are the factors that are not modifiable, but I can just kind of try to protect myself against these oxidants. So 10,000 oxidants per day we are exposed to. Take a look at this, and I'm just going to stop sharing, and I'm just going to read some of your comments in the chat. What do you see here? What do you see here? Please type in the chat box. What did you see in that picture? Just type here, and I'm going to share one more image, and you're just going to comment on that as well. water, trees, rocks. Just comment about the water alone. What did you see? Underwater bridge. Okay, bridge over a river. Just comment about the water that you see. Just comment about the water that you see.
You have to share your screen. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, clean water. Clean water. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure each of us would love to spend our time when we see something like that clear stream of water. And this is something we often don't get to see. When you see a clear stream of water, you really love to spend your time over there, right? And take a look at this image. What do you see here? Forget about the fish. Comment about the water.
Died fish. What's that?
Forget about the fish. Comment about the water alone. And you see contaminated water, dirty water, right? Polluted water. Yeah, I'm sure when we cross through a place like this, we are just going to keep our nose closed, if possible, our eyes closed as well, right? So this environment was not suitable for any creature to live, and the fish also died in it. What am I trying to share with you here? What is the point that I'm trying to make here? Take a look at this. The truth is, your bloodstream, which is actually supposed to look like that clear stream of water, also looks like the second image where you saw the contaminated water. Your bloodstream could look just like this. These are not my own words. When your body maintains the right pH, your blood would look like the image that you see on the left side. When your body is struggling to maintain that pH, then what you see is like an image on the right side. Okay, so these are images that were taken under live microscope, and this is exactly what I'm sharing with you. So in the bloodstream, we do have red blood cells, and then we have white blood cells. Now, what happens to the red blood cells when the body easily maintains the right pH is that every single red blood cell is spherical in shape, and each of these red blood cells are surrounded by negative charge. What this means is like every single cell would repel each other, and they stay in the bloodstream as single cells. They are not kind of clogged onto each other and trying to attract each other. They stay as single cells, which is how they are supposed to be. And they have to be single cells in the bloodstream because when they stay as a single cell, they have an increased ability to absorb oxygen in them, hold a lot of nutrition in them, and run through the bloodstream in a way they are supposed to be, and render their goodness to every single cell of your body. Whereas when your body is trying to maintain that normal pH, what happens is the first thing that happens is that your blood cells lose that negative charge. When they lose their negative charge, they begin to attract each other, and they lose their ability to hold oxygen. They lose their ability to hold nutrition, and their own survival is at risk. Now imagine how they can render nutrition to every single cell of the body. Now, what they do in a situation like this is that they try to steal nutrient from one another, and they kind of clog onto each other, and under the microscope, they look like the image that you see on the right side. So now I'm just going to share, oops, I'm just going to stop sharing. I'm just going to share another slide. I forgot to just take a video. I'm just going to share that. I'm going to share a video of a live microscope where two videos where I'm just going to show how your red blood cells would look like under a live microscope, and how a blood that is struggling to maintain that normal pH would look like. Okay, so one more thing before I do that, about the white blood cells. Now, what happens to the white blood cells? The white blood cells are there to actually scavenge a lot of these virus, bacteria. If cholesterol pieces or uric acid crystals are found inside the bloodstream, their role is to do the patrolling around the bloodstream, and if they come across anything that's not supposed to be in the bloodstream, they just devour them just like that. That's the role of the white blood cells. But then in an unhealthy environment of your blood, like the contaminated water that you saw, these red blood cells become dormant, they are inactive, and that's exactly what happens with the white blood cells also. They become handicapped and they cannot perform their job. So what you get to see is a lot of viruses and infectious organisms present in the bloodstream, and cholesterol and uric acid crystals and so many things just come into the bloodstream, which is not being controlled by the white blood cells. Okay, just give me a moment. I will share the video with you. Okay, so this is how a normal blood would flow through your bloodstream before a meal, and this is how it is supposed to be. Take a look at that. How free flowing is that blood? What you're seeing is just a normal blood flow. Now, take a look at this. After an increased fatty meal, it turns out to be an oxidant, and it turns out to induce so much of oxidative stress right inside your bloodstream. And there's a blood sludging that's happening, and your blood is struggling to flow through the bloodstream. And this is what happens to you. I mean, this is where your bloodstream could look like that contaminated water. And if this happens once or twice after a meal, which should be absolutely fine, but then most of us do have a bloodstream which looks like that for day in and day out. For years we do have bloodstream like this, and which is where uh, you know your blood vessels begin to get damaged, and you end up with clogged arteries, heart problems, and blood flow being affected to the brain, and so on and so forth. So a wide range of problems can take its origin from here. So this is another one. So what you see here is again a bloodstream which is struggling to maintain that normal pH. This is again a video that was taken by a doctor called Marshall Vega, and you see what you see like stacks of coin over here are red blood cells piled up one over the other, not moving through the bloodstream at all. And some of the pieces that you see here, take a look at that white blood cell, and it is completely dormant. This is after a good meal, and they put the patient through some rehabilitation, and the blood cells have now improved, and they are now separating themselves to become single cells inside the bloodstream. And this is exactly how our blood cells are supposed to be. And the white blood cell is also slowly becoming active inside the bloodstream. So let me show you. Yeah. So this is how it is supposed to be inside the bloodstream. So you can now see the white blood cell. This is the big thing, what you see over here, just moving around your bloodstream, and it can just literally take care of your bloodstream to keep it clean. And for that, there should be good amount of antioxidants coming in, which is when your bloodstream would remain in its optimal level. Okay, so now that you know something about water pHs and how your bloodstream is supposed to look like under the microscope, and you learn a little bit about the red blood cells and the white blood cells. Now, there are two important organs of your body which take care of the pH, the lungs and the kidneys. And what the lungs do is to eliminate CO2, carbon dioxide, from your system. Carbon dioxide buildup in your body, when you take a lot of oxidants into your system, then your body produces a lot of carbon dioxide, and which needs to be just expelled out, which is taken care by the lungs. And then your kidneys regulate pH by excreting hydrogen ions. So when you have a lot of oxidants into your body, there are two ways that your body can just expel them out. One is through carbon dioxide, another one is through hydrogen ions, which your kidney take care of. And then, in fact, sweat is another way that your body can send out all of these toxins. So what we were discussing so far is this: when your blood's pH would drop beyond that normal range, then it is called as acidosis. When your blood pH would increase above 7.45 of the pH, then it's called as alkalosis. But then your pH really does not drop beyond that normal range. But when your body is really struggling to maintain that normal pH, that condition is called as low-grade metabolic acidosis. Did I tell you that the global burden of disease study says 95% of the world is sick? So what that means is 95% of the world's population is suffering from what is called as a low-grade metabolic acidosis. Low-grade metabolic acidosis. This is not actually acidosis, but a subclinical problem where your blood is about to become acidic, but your body is constantly struggling to maintain that normal pH. So when your body is struggling to maintain that normal pH, when you're suffering from that low-grade metabolic acidosis, a wide range of problems can result. So high blood pressure. Why high blood pressure? Did you see your blood, the red blood cells clogging onto each other and not being able to move through the bloodstream? And there are blood vessels in your body, in your brain, which do have the diameter of just a needle tip. And if a blood cell has to pass through that small diameter blood vessel, it definitely needs to be a single cell. If it sludges like that, it cannot pass through. When it sludges for day in and day out, and for months and years, if you have a bloodstream like this, these blood vessels would die, and the cells will be deprived of blood supply and nutrition, and they slowly and gradually begin to die. And you end up with a wide range of problems like high blood pressure, heart disease. And you understand why heart disease, because it literally blocks the blood supply. And then osteoporosis, where your bones do not receive adequate nutrition and your bones become weak. And then you may end up with kidney stones. I don't want to discuss in detail about how this particular problem causes kidney stones, but it definitely causes kidney stones. And then kidney disease, because your kidney is not able to filter this impure blood that you have for years. And then it can cause calcification of your joints. And then it can even cause cancer. Because when your cells are deprived of nutrition, the cells begin to die. And further, it can even result in something called DNA damage. When the DNA is damaged, your DNA is the one that has got the blueprint of how a cell should function, how a cell should multiply. So there's something called as a controlled cell multiplication, which is taken care by your DNA. But then when DNA itself is damaged, then the controlled cell multiplication is something that turns out to be uncontrolled cell multiplication, and which is what we see as tumor and cancerous growth. Okay, so these are some of the problems. So I would like to take you back to that Italy study where we saw high blood pressure, diabetes, and all of these problems were the ones that people were suffering from, right? And which in turn resulted in COVID-19. So what is one common factor in all of these diseases, which happens as a result of that low-grade metabolic acidosis, where your blood is sludging and the pH is about to fall towards the acidic side. What is one common factor? It is compromised immune system. So when your immune system is not optimally functioning, be it the virus, be it the fungus, or the parasites, or bacteria, anything can take over. You have opened the doors for any of these microorganisms to take over. So this is something very, very important. There's a close connection between the low-grade metabolic acidosis, and then you suffer from lifestyle diseases like the ones that you see in the list over here. And these lifestyle diseases would suppress your immune system. And the medicines on top of that that you take to just manage these diseases further suppress your immune system. And where and how in the world are you going to be protected against any of the viral infection in the world? All right, so we are almost coming to the close of our discussion today. So what causes blood to hypercoagulate? We saw all of these oxidants, right? So apart from that, then there's elevated homocysteine levels in the blood, and uric acid, increased uric acid, cholesterol level in your body, and increased sugar level and increased calcium in your body could all increase the possibility of your blood turning to be acidic. Okay, so these are endogenous toxins, which means the body producing the toxin. And then we have exogenous toxins which come from outside. Like these are again something that may turn out to be oxidants in your body: coffee, tobacco, alcohol, sugar, food preservatives, pesticides, heavy metals like mercury, aluminum, and lead, cadmium, and the long-term medications. And when it comes to food, which is the most important thing, most of the oxidants that come into our body comes as a result of the food we eat: high fat food, high protein food, high sugary food, high salty food. And I'm sure most of us can relate to what I'm saying, because sometimes these food turn out to be the convenient food because we don't have time to prepare our food, and we just go ahead with whatever comes our way. And unfortunately, all of these food turn out to be either high fat or high protein or high sugary or high salty food, right? So now antioxidants, now that we understand antioxidants are the savior of health, which God has put in nature, which is the one that you see in the God's original diet. So now let's learn a little bit about the antioxidants. So how much antioxidant should I eat every single day? Antioxidant content is actually measured through a specific scale called as oxygen radical absorbance capacity, meaning something that can scavenge the oxidants or the free radicals. And this is called as the ORAC scale. In the ORAC scale, what we need per day is somewhere around 8,000 to 11,000 units of antioxidants per day. It is not the protein, it is not the carbohydrate, it is not anything else. You need so much of antioxidants every single day to keep yourself protected, to have an optimal health. If your focus is all about longevity and to be active and healthy for your family and to just glorify God with this amazing body that God has given us, then it is antioxidant which should be your focus. 8,000 to 11,000 units of antioxidants per 11,000 units of antioxidants per day is what you should be focusing. So ORAC values tend to be highest in spices, fruits, and vegetables. So the ORAC units are actually high in spices, but spices is something that you cannot eat in, even a cup of spices is something impossible for you to eat. So wherever you think you can have spices, include spices, but then you cannot eat a lot of spices because that by itself is going to damage your digestive system if you're going to eat them in excess, right? So some of the other things that do have a lot of antioxidants in them, the next one, in fact, is the herbs. Again, herbs are different from leafy greens. So herbs, for example, like parsley is a herb, and what are some of the other herbs that we know of? There are a
Thyme.
lot of, yeah, thyme is a herb, and all of these herbs do have a lot of antioxidants in them. Any edible herb has got a lot of antioxidants in them. And then comes fruits and vegetables. Okay, so now this should be our focus. And interestingly, antioxidant content is really low in processed grains, like anything that comes to you as flour, including the whole grain flour, do have a low amount of antioxidants in them, is something that I want you to understand. And the non-plant-based food do not have any antioxidant in them, meaning they do have, but the amount of antioxidant that you need for your body, suppose if you're a 100% non-vegetarian and you don't want to eat fruits or vegetables, then you may have to eat like kgs and kgs of meat and fish and egg and dairy every single day to get that antioxidant, 11,000 units of antioxidants per day, which is how a carnivorous would get its antioxidant. Like a lion can eat kgs and kgs of meat. My cat by itself can eat like 2 kgs of fish every single day easily. So that's the kind of meat or fish or any non-vegetarian food that you may have to eat if you're a non-vegetarian. So, but then that actually puts you into serious risk of, your blood becoming acidic, right? So antioxidant level is really low for highly processed grains, and non-plant-based food is something I want you to understand. So here's a study which again tells the same thing: spices, herbs, and they just evaluated 3,100 food, beverages, spices, herbs, and supplements. And what they found is this. So what are some of the best fruits that you can get? So for 100 gram of each of these fruits, now what you get is this same value. Maybe you can click a picture of this. So prunes, raisins, blueberries, berries are in the top list. Blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, plums, oranges, red grapes, cherries, kiwi fruit, grapefruit are all in the list. So you may have to, it's just 100 grams, you see, and you get so much of ORAC units of antioxidants from each of these fruits. And then when it comes to vegetables, kale, spinach, cabbage, broccoli, beets, and bell pepper, corn, eggplant, beans, moringa, and amaranth and carrots are also in the list. So the point that I'm trying to make here is this: you really don't have to choose all of these and specifically pick and eat. All I want you to do is go for plenty of fruits, plenty of vegetables every single day. Every single time you get an opportunity to have your food, your goal should be to get surplus flow of antioxidants into your system. That should be your goal. Every single time God gives you an opportunity to eat food, don't try to entertain yourself with the food that would satisfy the tongue alone, but something that would feed every single cell of your body. So you have to ask yourself the question: am I eating a food that's making every single cell of my body healthy? Or am I eating a food that's going to cause my blood to be contaminated, which would make my blood look like that contaminated water? So antioxidants and fiber-rich food. So when you take a high antioxidant-rich food, now that you have an understanding of what food has got high antioxidants in them, now when you take a high antioxidant food, another goodness that comes along with it is fiber in it. Fiber acts like a mopping stick inside your system. If you're suffering from hormonal imbalance, if you're suffering from obesity, a high amount of fiber that you take every single day is actually going to work like a magic bullet to just help you come out of all of these problems. Exclusively when you go on a fiber-rich antioxidant food, I bet that most of the problems that you suffer from can be very much controlled. And then less antioxidants food, you know it. So this is my last slide that I would like to share with you. Every time you eat or drink, you are either feeding disease are fighting it. There's no neutral ground over here. So there's no food that's like, no, there's no antioxidant. And I also know that it doesn't cause disease. No, it is either promoting your health or it's causing disease, is something I want you to understand. So the take home message is this, my dear friends. So God's original diet actually is a diet that's rich in antioxidants, rich in fiber, which is there to protect you. So all I want you to do is this: from today onwards, at least for me, one meal every single day is completely raw. My food is either completely salads or fruits or smoothies, where I just try to feed myself with the goodness God has kept in nature. So, what about the other two meals? It may be a cooked plant-based food, what I eat. And I'm thankful to God that He has shown me this. And I would like to say, this is by purely by God's grace. I've not visited hospital for the past 10 days, for 10 years. I haven't taken any medication. This is a testimony that I would like to share with you because of all that I have learned from this Adventist health message. So what I shared with you today is the detail of that Adventist health message. So with that, I'm just closing our today's discussion. And if you have any doubts, you may ask me. I hand over the time to Pastor Ajay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for teaching us. It was informative, and some of us actually are trying to change our diet. Hope this will be helpful for some of us, some of our members. Thank you once again, Brother Jerold. This time is open for questions. Anyone has any question, you're welcome to ask. If you can raise your hands, I can. Please, Sister Merceline, you can start with.
Hi, good evening. I don't know whether I'm clear or not.
Yes, speak.
Okay. I wanted to ask about the condition known as lupus. How long does it take for a patient who has lupus? Because I've seen many who have, I've seen some who have had this condition for long, and in as much as they're battling with it, they're still faring on. But I lost my brother 3 years ago through lupus. And from the period when he was diagnosed with this condition to the time that he passed, it was a very short period of 4 months. And within the time when he was diagnosed to the time that he had died, he could not walk completely. He could not walk. And when we went to the hospital, we were told because all the cells in his bodies have been damaged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lupus is yet another autoimmune disorder. I'm sure you heard about that.
Yeah.
Maybe let me get your question again. So your brother died of lupus. I'm very sorry to hear about that. And what exactly is your question? How long does it take for someone to recover from lupus? Is that your question?
Yeah. And for this, one of the nurses was telling us his condition may be worsening because of the stress. He was so much stressed up because that was the first time he was being hospitalized. And every time that I think he kind of engaged in too much thought, his blood pressure could shoot very high, that could land him to emergency ward.
All right. Well, the recovery for each of the lupus patients, though all of them may be suffering from the same condition called lupus, the degree of damage that their body has gone through could be different for each of these patients. And then each of these patients may be on a different set of medications. And there are some patients I know that they are on medications like chemotherapy medications like cyclophosphamide. And these are some of the factors that would determine how well they would improve. So one has to understand that a lifestyle can actually help to stop the progression of the disease, and to a larger extent, it can reverse. So an autoimmune disorder is again more like that of a cancer. So slowly and gradually, it can just destroy and damage various organs of your body. So lupus basically starts with one organ, and it can even affect your kidneys, it can affect your joints, and you become bedridden, wheelchair bound, and so many problems can happen. So two factors that would determine how well they would recover and what time would be required is like, well, to what extent the disease has affected their body, and the second thing is what kind of medications that they are taking. So on why am I saying this? Like, you put them on a lifestyle change, you feed them with a lot of antioxidants, and what happens is that you're feeding the body to recover. On the other hand, in the name of just suppressing some of the symptoms and things like that, medications are suppressing the immune system. So it's a tug of war. So we are fighting against the disease as well as the medications when you just put them on a diet. So I've had one lupus patient from India who wanted to improve, but then she is a foodie, and she, every time I talk to her, she says, no, today I was not able to follow it. I just happened to eat one meal of this. It's not about food alone, by the way. So when it comes to food, she was not able to follow it properly. So even till this day, she has not completely recovered. It's been like 2 or 3 years. She has not completely recovered because of a couple of things, like she has not given 100%, and then she is on heavy medications. Her doctors are not able to wean her off the medications, and she is fighting against all of that. So my recommendation, if a lupus patient wants to follow a lifestyle factor, is this. um, it has to be done with the permission of their treating doctor. And if the treating doctor is also happy about this, and if they can just involve them in this whole protocol, they can help the patient do this, um, without much problem, and they can slowly wean the medications off, which actually gives a better recovery. But how long does it take is something that I can't tell you. But I do have patients who have recovered in 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, and there are patients who have not recovered also till this day. So
But again,
you need to understand some of these factors. What is that which is stopping? So if a doctor is involved in it, then the whole process becomes a lot more easier for us.
okay. Now I wanted to ask this because we had put him on healthy diet, and we had started the process using the natural herbs. Unfortunately, we stopped him from taking the medication that was given by the doctors. So we decided to go the natural way, which kind of was okay within a period of 1 month.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that he was being done for the therapy sessions every time, and
Yeah.
it started working. So he had reached a point where he felt like now he's fine, and he stopped taking. He refused. He didn't want now the natural herbs that we were using. because some of the juices were also very bitter, so he didn't want. And he said it's okay. So he stopped. And at the same time, he wasn't taking the medication from the hospital.
Yeah.
So 1 week after it stopped, we saw a very drastic change in his body because it started swelling. The whole body was swelling.
Okay.
And when we took him back to the hospital, because of that, it didn't last for 1 week in the hospital.
Okay.
And at that point, the person who was attending to him was like, he didn't want the doctors to also know that because he had been discharged and we were told to put him, ensure that he takes his medication. So we didn't want to tell the hospital also that he wasn't taking the medication that was given.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it is because we kind of, there was a mixture of the natural herbs, and at the same time, we went the conventional way.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer. Actually, when it comes to weaning the medications, it has to be, my recommendation would be to do it with the help of a doctor. You should not do it on your own, because some of these medications, when you just stop abruptly, can just have some deadly effects, like what happened in your brother's case, one thing. And the other thing is, like, even when you start with any of the herbs, herbs sometimes behave more like medicine. We call them natural medicine, right? And they are different from the normal food we eat. You see, you think about any herb, we don't eat it like food. We don't eat a lot of it. We just take a little bit of it. So herbs sometimes behave like medicines. Oh, what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes the herbs can have an interaction with the medicines that he has been already having. So I do not know what actually caused the problem here, but always it would be a better idea to just do these, introduce, even if it is a lifestyle modification that you're trying to introduce for a patient who is suffering from any of the problems like this. It has to be done with the permission of a doctor or someone who has got a very good sound knowledge about lifestyle modification with the medications that they are taking. So they may have been an interaction or the wrong way that you weaned off the medications, which caused the problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other question? Okay, as you think about that, let me ask a question. Doctor, from your presentation, we understand now the pH has a direct connection now with the heart diseases.
Exactly.
Okay, so how can we? Yes, you said yes. Food, going to the plant-based diet can help us to change the pH. How, like, as you said, the pH, the acidic, sometimes whatever we eat, still we have acidic content in our body. How can we take off that when we, like, I sometimes heard people saying, like, after eating, like, eating more of nuts can give you like this uric acid hike kind of. So how can we deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah, once again, I would just take you back to our presentation. Your focus should be to eat food that has got the highest amount of antioxidants in them. Let me give you this important example, which would help you understand. You see, when God created humans, he gave us this original food, which was 100% raw, and it was more of fruits and I believe seeds and nuts as well. And pretty much all the creatures on earth were also eating a food which is raw. And till this day, if you see, all the animals on earth are eating food which is raw, right? Except human beings. So when it comes to eating raw food, if we have to apply that same universal law followed by each of these species, why do they eat their food raw? Because they get the real natural goodness that's present in all of the food as it is that enters into the body, and which I believe was the intention when God gave us the original diet as well. And then when sin came in and food pattern and everything began to change, and cooking and overcooking and frying and everything just came up. So now, having said that, when we eat a lot of raw food, and what could be that food which can give us more of antioxidants to our system is definitely fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, and some of the herbs. And when we eat a lot of these, and then you may have some amount of nuts. In the case of nuts, again, let's think about those creatures that eat nuts, like a chimpanzee or a gorilla, okay, or our grandparents who used to, I remember my dad giving me the badam that we used to have, a badam tree, the country tree that we used to have, and he used to break open those nuts, and it takes a lot of effort to break open that nuts, unhull it, and then take that badam out of that, and I eat that. I remember those days. And just like that, these animals, if they have to just take a walnut, they have to crack open that with so much effort, and with so much effort when they break, and then they have to eat, probably they will eat 5 or 10 nuts if that's exactly how they have to eat. But nuts, unfortunately, have become the convenient food for us. We get it in packets now, and it's also in the roasted form, and we love nuts and we just keep eating a lot of it. This is where the problem is. So yes, you're right, nuts are not meant to be eaten a lot, so you can eat only a little bit. But nuts are not a problem, you can eat, but just a handful of nuts per day should be absolutely fine. And then your question was about heart problem, I suppose. So there are two mentors that I follow. One is Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, and another one is Dr. Dean Ornish. People who suffer from heart problem, or if your family member is suffering from heart problem, I want you to look into the work of these two amazing people. They have reversed the heart disease of their patients using 100% plant-based diet. Okay, so it is clearly documented before and after angiography, through before and after angiography that was done on the blocked artery. They have proven that a plant-based diet not only stops the progression of the problem, but it can actually reverse the block in the artery, and the artery can literally open up. So if you're not in an emergency situation, okay, what I'm sharing is just an information. Don't try to do this as a medical treatment without consulting a doctor, but I'm just sharing an information. So you may look into the work of these two people. So it took like 36 months for their patients to completely reverse their artery to a normal, healthy artery. So how did they do that? 100% plant-based food, which was again rich in fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, and things like that. And what was there in it? Antioxidants and fiber, which did the magic.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Brother Jen,
with regards to the uric acid, and uric acid, as you just asked that question, I would like to answer that as well. With regards to the uric acid usually is converted from something called purine, which is actually present in the non-plant-based food. And the one that comes high in the list is fish. That may be shocking to most of us, and which has got a lot of purine in it, and not all the fishes. And maybe if possible, I'll share the list of purine-rich food. And so anyone who has got uric acid, high uric acid, may follow that particular list, and it can be of help to you. So purine-rich food, when you take a lot, then your liver converts the purine into uric acid, and then you have elevated uric acid based on the amount of high purine-rich food you take.
Thank you. Brother Jayantan.
Yeah. Good evening, doctor.
Good evening.
I've been taking my diabetic medication for the last 3-4 years.
Okay.
Along with that, I am prescribed with medicine for cholesterol and for BP. But in my recent blood check, every 3 months I am doing my blood check. In my recent blood check, last 2 blood check, my cholesterol and BP under control. But
Okay.
again, the medicine is prescribed, and I am taking all these 3 together. Is it required to take these 2 tablets for BP and cholesterol along with diabetic tablet is must, or I can avoid these 2?
Okay, these 3 problems that you're suffering from, to me, I call them the triplets. They come together. So, so the way the conventional medical world looks at it is like, once you get it, forever you will have it. And even if you just manage to just get rid of it for a while, it comes back again, is the way doctors and the medical world would look at a problem like this. So once you have developed hypertension, or once you have developed high cholesterol or diabetes, they are going to put you on lifetime medication, long-term medication, and then you just have to take it, and you cannot come out of it without their help. And I will not be the right person to tell you to stop your medications, but if you're sure that your lifestyle is really good, and then you may just reach out to a doctor, have a proper discussion with the doctor, tell him that, doctor, my lifestyle is way better right now. I'm just regular with my exercise. My food practice is good. I'm sleeping well. I'm pretty confident that I can maintain or have my blood pressure or my cholesterol under control. So can you please taper down the medications or remove the medications? So you discuss with the doctor and see that they just wave a green flag to you to remove your medication, stop your medications. So you may do that. And I will not advise you to stop doing that through a Zoom call like this. And I'm not an authorized person to do that either.
Okay, I understand. Initially, I was taking 3-time medicines for my diabetic, but I stopped. Even though he told me to take 3 times medicine, I took only 2 times medicines. So during lunchtime, that tablet I avoided. Even then, I kept that sugar level under control. But the doctor is also happy. But without telling him, I thought of cut short one more time medicine and thought of taking only 1 time.
Yeah. Please don't do that. And yeah, it is always a good thing to get rid of the medications, but not abruptly stopping anything. Your goal should be to stop the medications, but with a discussion, because some of the medications, when you stop, suddenly you may end up with some problems. So you may have a discussion with your doctor. And if your doctor is a nice person who can just spend time with you to discuss these things, most of them do not have time to educate their patients. I hope your doctor is not like that. So you have a discussion with him, and I hope and trust he would help you come out of the medications.
Okay, thank you. Very good advice. And one more doubt I have.
Please.
Taking this vitamin C and vitamin D.
Yeah.
For a longer period, is it okay?
Depends on what kind of, what brand or what kind of supplement you're taking. So vitamin C, in fact, if you're taking a supplement, I would suggest that you don't take it for a long term and not at a higher dose. But then you have plenty of food where you can find vitamin C. So you may just take vitamin C through your food. And of course, so in the case of vitamin D, the actual source of vitamin D is sunlight, right? But for people who live in places like Dubai or Bahrain, where we do have, it's impossible for us to go get some sunlight, then we go for vitamin D supplements. So D3 supplement is the best one, and that's the most commonly available one. And yes, vitamin D supplement is something you may take, and it's again proven to be highly protective against COVID-19 or most of the health problems that we would suffer from.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
Have a
Doctor,
question.
good evening.
Good
Doctor,
evening.
good evening.
Good evening, brother.
How are you?
Yeah.
For vitamin C, early morning I'm taking amla juice, putting 7 to 8 amlas with a piece of ginger and lemon and turmeric powder. It helps vitamin C.
In empty stomach, when you take vitamin C, it could damage the mucous membrane of your digestive system. The juice that you're taking is really good. Sometimes the quantity may cause some indigestion to people, and sometimes it could cause some damage to the digestive system. But again, if you are fine with it, go ahead. There's no problem with it. Even
Yes, I'm
any
fine.
other.
Yes, I'm fine with that. My sugar level also go down.
Okay.
So if you take amla juice,
Okay.
so my doctor recommended that sister Naomi from UK.
Yeah.
She recommended that
Yeah.
for during this COVID time. It's a good.
Yeah, it is
So,
definitely a good thing. Just make sure it is not causing indigestion. So I know of people who keep drinking it with the belief that I need to drink it, even though it causes some gastritis, heartburn, or anything.
yes.
That's not a good indication. So you just have to be very careful with that. If you're fine with it, your body is not causing any problem, then you may go ahead with it.
Yes, doctor. Last 2 months, 3 months, I'm taking. Nothing happened to me.
Okay, please go ahead. No
Okay.
problem. Yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
I saw somebody unmuting your microphone. I don't know who unmuted. Somebody spoke. Okay.
Me? Is
Okay.
it okay? Can I talk?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Jerold.
Yeah, good evening, Sister Sally.
Ali. Yeah, my question is, I have a condition which is autoimmune, RA, and I was asked by the doctor to stop my methotrexate in 2019. From 2019, I'm off methotrexate, which I had to take lifetime, but they asked me to stop because I replaced both my knee. And they asked me to continue with my HCQ, which is Plecanil. And I was on it for like till last month. And last month, I even stopped my Plecanil because I was also doing, along with Plecanil, I was having my, homeopathy, which is from Reykjavik, the German homeopathy medicines. So I was taking them along with this. But then I stopped everything. Since my lifestyle got better and I was doing my yoga and my food changes and everything. My question is, every time I take a banana, I take one, I get cramps. And then I eat the apple, I get the mucus triggers. So I don't know, is it the fruit that I'm eating that causes it, or what exactly is my problem?
Well, do you have indigestion or gastric problem, probably because of the medications that you've been taking?
I used to have a lot of the gastritis problem, but then they got controlled over a period of time because of the change. And I also do the intermittent fasting. Like I take only 2 meals a day. I take one in the morning, like around 10 o'clock, a good meal, and then I give a break till 5. So but at 5, I take my second meal. Which is again the whole grain and lot of vegetables, 3-4 vegetables I take.
Awesome.
So, which did help me a lot.
Okay.
But I still have this question as to why when I take banana every time,
Yeah.
or I take an apple, when I take banana also the histamine, is it to do anything with histamine triggering factor?
Well, the way I look at it is like you said you were suffering from gastritis, and it probably did not recover completely. It probably completely did not get well. And so your digestive system, is, think of it like a damaged blender. And when you have a damaged blender and you try to even use it for a normal purpose, it may not do its job. So that's how, even when you eat some of the healthy food with a damaged digestive system, it may show signs of some of the issues like this, and mucus production could be one of those. So my advice to you would be, if there's any of these fruits which are not accepted well by your digestive system, then you may just keep it on hold for some time. Eat the food that is okay for you, and I believe you should be able to come out of this completely, and then later you may introduce this food again slowly and gradually.
Amazing, amazing. Also, the berries. Every
Yeah.
time I take a cherry or I take any form of berries,
Yeah.
my arthritis, I would get inflammation on my joints.
Mhm.
So I really don't understand how I can, help myself.
Okay. So when you eat berries, you have increased pain, you say, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so these are short-term things what we experience. Again, if that's the case, then you may stick on to just vegetables alone. Probably the increased sugar in your blood is having a flare-up, is what I feel. So
Perfect. Perfect.
yeah, so you may just stick on to a lot of vegetables or whole grains or whatever you think is completely fine. But a plant-based diet would be the way to go. And once you're fine, then again, slowly reintroduce all of these food into your meals.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wish you good
Thank
health.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. As we have closed our time, let's close with a prayer, and want to thank you once again, bottom of our heart, and on behalf of Bahrain Church. We want to thank you, Brother Jerold, for being with us for these 3 days and teaching us and helping us. And we believe that God will help us to change our lifestyle, and we are planning to call you again. So when you have time, please join us and teach us also. Thank you. And
it was such a pleasure for me to just have this opportunity. I thank God and Bahrain Church, where I could just share my knowledge. And yeah, I can't wait to just meet you all again. So, and I wish you all God's richest blessings and good health, especially during this tough time that the entire world is going through.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to ask Brother to pray for us. And I just want to thank you all for joining us. God bless as we change ourselves to a better health so that we can praise Him in a better way. Thank you. And can you please pray and close this meeting?
You want me to pray?
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's close our eyes for prayer. A gracious and merciful Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for this wonderful moment that was given us, Lord. Father, we thank you so much for the success of this program, where we could learn more about all the good things that you kept in nature for us, Father. Lord, we thank you so much for everyone who just managed to come for the meeting and learn, Father. Lord, now the most important thing that we ask you is that help us the strength, the courage, and every single thing that we need to follow this, apply this to our daily practices, Father. Lord, help us to remember that when we do this, you would give us the health that we need, Father. Lord, we submit each and every one of us who are bowed down here. Lord, there may be a lot of problems that we suffer from. Father, we submit each and every one of them into your care and keeping. We pray that you would bless them all abundantly, uh, touch them and heal them if they suffer from any kind of sickness, Father. Lord, we pray for the pastor. We pray for all the church members. We pray that you would bless this church, Bahrain Church, abundantly, that they would shine for you, Father. Lord, once again, we submit everything into your care and keeping. This